public. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be your host this morning. A couple of issues we're going to review today. First, in our bullet points, I would like to share our condolences with the victims in Boston, either killed or injured, and state our unity with our nation that this type of violence is completely unacceptable in any respect. Our nation does not live by terror. And those folks that were injured there were abused and used as a tool for some political persuasion. We don't know what it is yet. And unlike the mass media, I'm not going to sit here and speculate upon that. We don't know what the motivation was. We don't know who was responsible, and we should simply say that. We shouldn't sit here and try to throw out ideas and speculation about who and what their motives were. That's simply mental masturbation and serves no purpose whatsoever. And I refuse to do it. I do feel that the individuals who were innocent victims have a right to justice, irrespective of where that falls. And like most scenarios, I believe that the chips should fall where they may. The question is, can we truly rely on the investigation and the investigatory powers of those who were involved to find out the ultimate evildoer, if you will? Fortunately, there are some unexploded ordnance there, and as a result, the odds are pretty good that we'll get a fairly good representation of what they were trying to accomplish. And with that kind of evidence, the odds are very, very good that we'll find out who was responsible. As a natural American with deep concerns over the veracity and the credibility of our government, I'm sincerely and deeply concerned about the motivations of and the political angles of this investigation. And I'm concerned that it will, like most things that involve our present administration, and by the way, many, many administrations before, I'm concerned about the political abuse of this situation to be used for some nefarious political end. I would pray with most Americans that that does not occur. And that's my bullet points for this morning. We are going to talk about two different issues today. One is an open letter which I've penned to the Missouri State Senate relating to a resolution by the Senate which will go to our two federal senators in reference to their proposal to pass this UN Small Arms Treaty in a ratification, which I'm not sure what date that's been scheduled for. But I delivered this to the Missouri State Senate as a witness appearance testimony in a hearing on this UN Small Arms Trade Treaty. The original text of the resolution can be found online, and I'll be more than happy. In fact, it's been posted up on the website, and you're welcome to go view it there. It's tied together with this story. The United Nations adopted this treaty about a month ago, and it's now up to the individual states and the nation to determine if we as a nation will be party to this treaty. As you know, I've spoken often about whether or not the United Nations Small Arms Treaty is a good thing for America, and you know my thoughts on it. I think it is the worst sort of betrayal because it basically puts us under the sovereignty of an international body that, one, despises us, and two, doesn't respect or even believe in the foundational principles upon which our nation was built. And so, if our Senate is to ratify this, as is dictated by the Constitution, this particular bill is encouraging our two senators to reject the treaty, and we'll see what happens as things move forward. Now, I don't have a lot of faith in Claire McCaskill, and honestly, I don't have a lot of faith in Roy Blunt. I believe both of our senators are political animals. And when I say that, I mean that they will do whatever is expedient for their own personal best interest, ego, power, and monetary scenario, than what is in the best interest of our nation. I think we've seen that proven time and time and time again. Claire McCaskill, despite 70% of Missouri voting against Obamacare, gleefully raised her hand and voted for it. Roy Blunt, the recent purveyor of the Monsanto Protection Act, was not only the sponsor, but accepted a pre-written piece of legislation by Monsanto, submitted it to the Senate, got it approved, and passed it as law. And that act basically states that even in the event that or even in a time when we have empirical proof, scientific empirical proof, that genetically modified organisms and genetically engineered products are dangerous to human health, that the courts and the legislature are prohibited from protecting us. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how a sitting senator could eviscerate our Constitution in favor of a corporate interest. I don't understand that. So forgive me when I say I don't have much faith in our senatorial body. We just had a similar act approved by both our House and our Senate to go onto the ballot here in Missouri for a statewide Monsanto Protection Act, which would be embodied in our state constitution. So forgive me if I say I don't have a whole lot of faith in our state Senate and state House either. I think what it really comes down to is that I don't have a lot of faith in political animals. We've seen them betray us time and time and time and time again. That's the primary reason why I've written the piece of 90 Days That Will Change the World. Because I believe that if we do not stand up now for our own best interests and remove these political animals from office, we have essentially sold our birthright for a bowl of soup. That bowl of soup takes the form of Medicare, Medicaid, Obamacare, free phones, food stamps, products, iPads, iPods, houses, automobiles, the luxuries of life, and in some cases, the necessities of life. But I tell you now, we have no right to sell our birthright and the birthright of our children's children's children for our comfort today. That is a betrayal of everything which all those who have come before us that fought and died to provide for us. That's a betrayal, an out-and-out betrayal. Our founders and our forefathers fought and died. Our fathers fought on foreign shores and domestic shores to preserve these rights for us. And if we give them up for a bowl of soup, whatever form that soup may take, that's a betrayal of everything that our nation stands for. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to read this letter for you. And I'd like your opinions or your comments on it. We'll be more than happy to open the floor. And then after that, and then our next segment, we're going to talk about how Missouri CCW holders are filing criminal charges over identity theft by the Department of Revenue and the Missouri Highway Patrol. Ladies and gentlemen, citizens are taking action, and we're going to prosecute the criminals in the DOR and the Missouri Highway Patrol. We'll be back in just a moment.
Kim Commando, aka the Digital Goddess, keeps you plugged in with a daily feature. Kim Commando's Digital Minute. This segment keeps you informed with what's going on in the technology world, along with new tips and tricks to use at home to improve those computer skills. Catch Commando at 7:22 a.m. during Cooper & Company on the Ozark's Best News Talk. If the feature has you craving more, join Kim, the Digital Goddess, Saturdays from noon to 3 on the Ozark's Best News Talk, 107.1 The Point.
America's Voice Now, delivering truth over mainstream propaganda every single day. Hi, my name is Michael Evans, and I'm your host, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., and Saturday morning from 6 to 9 a.m. Join me daily for important guests and my unique slant on hot topics in the news. Visit americasvoicenow.org for even more news, articles, and commentary, and watch our show streaming live to your PC. Share your morning with me. Get educated, informed, motivated, and activated. America's Voice Now, right here on 107.1. There was a Missouri House resolution and Senate resolution to inform our federal representing senators to defeat the Small Arms Treaty and vote no on the ratification of it. It's a resolution that basically was put together to indicate to our state and our federal senators that as a state, we declare that we are not willing to hand over our sovereignty to the United Nations. Our Second Amendment is an American constitutional right, not delegated to us by men, but given to us by God and nature. And under no circumstances may we hand that off to some independent international governing body. So I'm going to read this letter to you, and then I'm going to invite you to go to mofirst.org, mofirst.org, and I want you to sign up so that you can fill out your own witness forms on a routine basis, because I get an email when every one of these Senate and House resolutions and bills come up, and you have an opportunity to be to fill out a witness appearance testimony statement that will enable you to have your written words brought before the House or the Senate, or a joint committee if it's both, to actually hear what you have to say. The value of this is far greater than a phone call because it's in writing, it's undeniable, and you can publish it online. This is the voice of America speaking when you fill out a witness appearance testimony. I encourage everyone within the sound of my voice to do so. You can go to MoFirst, M-O-First, F-I-R-S-T.org, and fill out your own witness appearance. They've created a pretty unique application there where you can fill this form out once, and then you'll get an email every time that there's a new House or Senate resolution or bill, and your pre-filled out information is already there. All you've basically got to do is go in and type in your ideas or your opinions on it, and then hit the submit button. You can make it public or you can keep it private. It's entirely up to you. I think it's one of the best tools that's available to us as citizens. So here's what I sent them. Gentlemen, quote, the time is now near at hand, which must probably determine whether Americans are to be free men or slaves, whether they are to have any property they can call their own, whether their houses and farms are to be pillaged and destroyed, and themselves consigned to a state of wretchedness from which no human effort will deliver them. The fate of unborn millions will now depend, under God, on the courage of this army. Our cruel and unrelenting enemy leaves us only the choice of brave resistance or the most abject submission. We have, therefore, to resolve to conquer or die. George Washington, July 2nd, 1776. Senators, I begin this testimony with words not of my own making, for the simple reason that a much greater man of mind, spirit, and fortitude has already stated so eloquently that which I might never translate. Many parallels exist in this statement from our most honored ancestor. His wisdom and understanding of the plight of America was as relevant then as it is now. Our nation and our republic are under attack from outsiders who would see us capitulate to whims and vagaries of tyrants, with no allegiance to our people or our principles. Our nation was built upon a foundation that no other nation has ever possessed, either before or after. At its inception, this union was created with the ideal that man has inherent rights based purely upon his existence as a living, breathing person. That government is foremost subservient to the will of its master, the people. That government is created for the express purpose of protecting those most basic of rights and liberties. And yet today, we look upon a document created by governments and men who have no inclination to respect those rights. I dare say their motives are in direct opposition to those rights and liberties. Today, our nation debates our most fundamental sovereignty and right of independence to declare our own destiny, make our own way, and determine by our own will that which is best for our nation. Let us remember that those rights are not delegated to men by men. For if they are, then men can take them away. I trust not men, foreign or domestic, nor their political progeny, to do what is right by our countrymen. Today, we shall see the measure of you. Is it not incumbent on you and those whom we have allowed to represent us to protect these inherent rights of self-determination? Our rights to self-defense and self-preservation? Shall we discard our freedom and willingly place upon our hands the chains of a master who despises us? Our natural rights to life, liberty, and property are a birthright. We entrust you not to sell out our birthright like Esau for a mere bowl of soup. And if you do, we will know the measure of who you are. Will you act in accordance with this most sacred of duties? Our countrymen depend upon the courage of this army of representatives of our people. Will you resolve to conquer, or will you sell us into the slavery of international ambition, covetousness, and tyranny? Today, we the people will take the measure of you. I strongly encourage you to visit mofirst.org. It provides an opportunity for you to have your own say. And you don't have to wax poetic, and you don't have to be extraordinarily articulate. You just have to basically be willing to say what you know in your heart to be true. You need to have the wherewithal and the ability to get your message heard by those people who allegedly represent us. It puts you on record as your opinion and your ideas about given legislation. This is the activation part of your role and your duty as a beneficiary of our republic. And either you're going to take it seriously, or you're going to be a follower who's going to willingly stand in line to march into the cattle car or to march into the oven, literally, figuratively, or otherwise. Your job as a member and a participating beneficiary of the benefits that this republic has delivered to us is incumbent on whether or not you're taking and playing an active role. If you're not, you have no right to, one, dictate how others should be, or live, or do, nor do you have any right to complain about the circumstances which the political class will foster upon you. I have no faith in politicians. None whatsoever. By their very nature, and based upon what they do, they compromise. And compromise is actually the worst of all words. Some would say, well, we can't have a government that doesn't compromise. I don't have a problem with compromise on the method, but I do have a problem with compromising on either the goal or the foundational principles upon which our nation was built. Those are not open for discussion. Those are not open for review. You either have integrity, which is who you are and what you are when no one's looking, or you don't. The question is, do politicians have integrity? And the answer is, more often than not, no. They're corrupted. Their thinking is twisted based upon, one, their elevated position, the people who surround them, the information they're fed, and more often than not, who's willing to pay them the most money. Ladies and gentlemen, that was not what our founders wanted for this republic. They were clear that our legislators should be citizen volunteers, not lords and ladies, not folks who were given existential privilege and a soft and a soft life and a large paycheck and a guaranteed retirement, while simultaneously betraying your best interest. The word representative has a clear and defined definition. There is a fiduciary responsibility that goes with the word representative. That means that they have an obligation to do what is right by you, even against their own best interest. And if they're not willing to do that, then they should never accept the responsibility and the duty that goes with the representative term. If you're not willing to accept the job along with its duties and its obligations, then you have no right to accept the job, irrespective of what it is. And I don't care whether it's the dog catcher or the president or the Secretary of State or an aide in a representative's office. We all have that same duty and obligation. And either we adhere to it with integrity and honor, or we don't. I dare say, and I submit to you, that I think the vast majority of politicians out there in the world today, and their minions, the unelected, the unaccountable, are guilty of doing what's best for themselves and not what's best for you. Lord Acton is famously quoted as saying, "Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely." You don't have to be a philosopher to grasp the concept of that. You only have to understand the basic premise that when you're the dog catcher, you have the ability to abuse that authority. When you're a police officer or the head of the Missouri Highway Patrol, You have the ability to abuse that power and that office and authority. When you're the President of the United States, the power is greater, the abuse is greater, the treason is greater, the tyranny is greater. You're listening to America's Voice Now. We'll be back in just a moment, and when we do, we're going to talk about these identity theft charges being filed by Missouri CCW holders.
This is a Fox News alert. I'm Chris Foster. The FBI is about to hold a briefing on the Boston Marathon bombing investigation. The one person we know is being questioned denies any involvement. Fox's Courtney Keeley's in Boston.
Saudi national on a student visa has been identified as a person of interest. Police searching a home in nearby Revere with a search warrant taking out bags of possible evidence. Most of Boston's downtown area near Copley Square remains a crime scene, cordoned off with intense police and security presences throughout the city. Boston marathoners are somberly making their way home to the airports after the historic marathon here turned into a horrific scene of carnage.
3 people are dead, including an 8-year-old boy, more than 140 hurt, some still in critical condition, injuries ranging from lost limbs to broken bones and burst eardrums. This is a Fox News alert.
Thanks to Jason over at Wits End Classic Barbershop for sponsoring our phone lines. You can call our Wits End Classic Barbershop hotline, and you can get over there and get yourself a shave and a haircut. 2 bits. Well, a little bit more than 2 bits. Thanks to our friends over at Pizza Hut as well. On Porter Wagoner Boulevard, they have an outstanding lunch special, and on Tuesday nights, they have Kids Eat Free. Children under 12 eat for free. They're on Porter Wagoner Boulevard in West Plains. Make sure you visit Pizza Hut. Our friends at the Battery Station, 303 Washington Avenue at batterystation.com. You can also reach them via telephone at 257-7799. Folks over at West Plains Pawn and Gun. Kenny's a friend of ours and a great supporter of our program. 417-256-3000, located about a mile and a half on Route 160 past Walmart. You can reach him also on the web at westplainspawn.com. Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance, half-mile east of Walmart at Route 62 in Mountain Home. You can find them on the web at ozarkmtnselfreliance.com. And you can call them at 870-492-4030. My friend Mary over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, the best damn bakery in 100 miles. She can be reached at 417-255-2253. You can also find her at number 2 Evans Arcade. Outstanding bakery. Bill Stone over at Stone Construction at 2930116. Whether remodeling, building new, or doing some kind of custom construction like commercial or farm work, Bill's the guy for you. 2930116.
Howell County Bank, branch of Bank at Thayer, locally owned and operated since 1900. It's not what they do, it's how they do it. Roger London, president of Howell County Bank. Is it true that banks don't have money to lend?
And that's just not true. All the area banks have money to loan. We certainly do, and it's just a case of lack of confidence right now. We certainly have money to loan and welcome customers to come in and apply.
At Howell County Bank, it truly is not what they do, but how they do it. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Weather is a service of News Talk 107.1 The Point. Contact Josh or Cody at 255-2548 for more information on making weather sponsorships part of your marketing plans.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, mostly cloudy skies, mostly cloudy through the day with a couple of thunderstorms around, high near 80. Mostly cloudy tonight, low 64. Clouds and a couple of thunderstorms tomorrow, the high 80 degrees. Thunderstorms tomorrow night and Thursday could be severe. Thursday's high 62. I'm staff meteorologist Jim Rinaldi, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
You've heard the saying, less is more. Well, when it comes to tires, more is less. More traction means less stress on the road. And now through May 31st at Don's Auto Service during the Goodyear Get More, Stress Less event, you can get up to $80 by mail-in rebate plus traction for a confident ride when you purchase a set of 4 select Goodyear or Dunlop tires. The Goodyear Assurance Triple Tread offers all-season traction plus enhanced wet traction. See all the Assurance family of tires at Don's Auto Service, Goodyear Tire in Service, 1618 Porter Wagoner, West Plains, 417-256-2752.
All right, we've returned. Thank you for sharing your morning with us. There is a news story out that is terribly important, If you are a Missouri CCW holder, you need to hear about this. The Missouri CCW holders are filing criminal charges of identity theft en masse against the Missouri Department of Revenue, the holder of the concealed carry weapons permit data, its director, Brian Long, who resigned yesterday under fire over this exact scandal, and the Missouri Highway Patrol, its Commandant, Colonel Ron Replogle, Missouri State Governor Jay Nixon, and Morpho Trust. This is over the recent revelation that Replogle of Missouri's Highway Patrol misused his police authority to request the list on 2 occasions of 163,000 Missouri CCW holders and turned that information over to the federal government without probable cause. Citizens who were in the 163,000-strong database are encouraged to visit their local sheriff's office and file criminal complaints against the individuals and agencies responsible with a charge of identity theft. State law also mandates that the concealed weapons permit data is confidential, and therefore it was outside the purview of dissemination by Colonel Ron Replogle from the Missouri Highway Patrol. Because Missouri's law prohibits the release of any of the CCW holder information. That information has been released to federal Social Security Administration authorities and a third party called Morpho Trust. Citizens have been visiting their sheriff's offices in droves, demanding legal criminal action. Because the Department of Revenue is also the license bureau in Missouri, and CCW permit holders must get an endorsement on their driver's license, the Department of Revenue is the keeper of the personal data of all 163,000 lawful permit holders. In state Senate hearings, it was revealed that Colonel Replogle from the Missouri Highway Patrol actively tried to withhold information on the transfer of the private data to the federal government. In an article in the Columbia Tribune, Replogle denied the transfer on a number of occasions, but finally conceded that it took place not once, but twice. State Attorney General Chris Koster, has declined to take action, and Missouri CCW holders are therefore taking action themselves in a grassroots effort to bring the state to heel. The story deepens here because it revolves around 2 issues, both of which have resulted in violation of at least 2 laws prohibiting actions of state agencies. In a second twist in the sordid tale, the Federal Real ID Act of 2005 was nullified in the state of Missouri by the legislature in 2009, when it passed an act prohibiting the state from compliance with the onerous biometric facial recognition and RFID chip requirements of the federal law. The law states categorically that facial and biometric data cannot be disseminated to Morpho Trust, the company who compiles the data and mails the licenses back to individuals. Morpho Trust further disseminates that private information, including all personal data, to international bodies including Mexico, Canada, and Caribbean nations, since the RFID chip acts as a new form of passport. In March of 2013, news leaked of the DOR accepting grants from the Department of Homeland Security for new equipment for the driver's license issuance centers that did in fact take a facial recognition image, and that they were scanning into databases the CCW permit holder information, birth certificates, and other personally identifiable information in violation of the law. The DOR accepted the grants in order to do an end run around the prohibition passed by the legislature in 2009, barring the state from assisting or participating in the Federal Real ID Act. Now that the scheme has been exposed, the state legislature is up in arms and demanding answers. Ha ha ha. Governor Jay Nixon disclaimed any knowledge of the scheme, only to be contradicted by the director of the Missouri Highway Patrol, Ron Replogle, literally hours later, when he admitted that he had obtained the database of CCW holders on 2 occasions and handed it over to the federal government for investigative purposes, quote unquote. What Mr. Replogle didn't have was probable cause. I want to know when Mr. Replogle is going to be charged criminally. I want to see the photographs of him doing a perp walk. I want to see the Missouri Highway Patrol eject him from power. I want to see Chris Koster, our Attorney General, charge him with a criminal action. I want to see Brian Long from the Missouri Department of Revenue, even though he's resigned, charged criminally. They have violated state ordinance or state law on 2 separate occasions. Once with the dissemination of the CCW holders' information to a federal agency, which is identity theft. And secondarily, by bypassing the state limitation and the state nullification of the Real ID Act. By wantonly and willfully making an agreement with the Department of Homeland Security to bypass that law and institute facial recognition, the collection of biometric and concealed carry holder data. It is a de facto database of gun owners, ladies and gentlemen. Make no mistake about it. And the Department of Revenue was willfully and wantonly complicit in the commission of a crime. Must the citizenry arise on their own? Must a posse of deeply concerned citizens begin to make citizen arrests because our government has refused to protect us from itself? That is what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. Our government is refusing to protect us from elements within the government who have betrayed our trust and their sacred duty and oath. Colonel Replogle, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his name, took an oath when he accepted the commission as the Commandant of the Missouri Highway Patrol. How can we, as citizens in the state of Missouri, ever look a patrol officer in the eye ever again and give that officer any credibility, knowing full well that his department and that agency have violated the law they expect us to honor? I ask you straight out. Troopers, where are you? Troopers, why are you not demanding that he resign? Well, the union won't let. I don't care about the union. It's time for you, troopers, to take this man to task. You should be arresting him. You have the authority and the power. Why haven't you exercised it? He has broken the law. If government is above the law, I want to know why you believe that to be the case. If the Commandant of the Missouri Highway Patrol, obviously a very high echelon of power within the state of Missouri, is above the law, then what is the purpose of the law? How dare politicians and police officers and anyone else involved in law enforcement have the audacity to expect us to follow a law they themselves wantonly, willingly break? I mean, explain it. Give me one reason why any citizen should be willing to follow the law that the guardians themselves refuse to follow. See, that's the seed, ladies and gentlemen, of 90 days that will change the world. This is the seed. And I pray with all of my strength that between now and July 4th, that seed will bear good fruit. I pray that Americans will have the courage of their convictions to stand up and redeclare our sovereignty, our independence from tyranny. Tyranny is espoused and pushed upon us every day by a ruling elite class who feels that they are above the law. The foundation of a republic is the rule of law, and it applies to all. We'll return in just a moment.
The area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry. Top-of-the-line handguns from Kimber, Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Glock, Beretta, and many more. A wide selection of ammunition including blanks, centerfire handgun and rifle, rimfire, a variety of shotgun shells, target, and turkey. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
If you're looking for great deals on iPads or Kindles, look no further than your neighborhood Radio Shack authorized sales center. They've got great deals on the latest iPads and Kindles. Maybe you need a new GPS or an MP3 player to get your music library ready for those barbecues. Whatever your electronic needs, stop by your local neighborhood Radio Shack authorized dealer in West Plains at 1408 Southern Hills Shopping Center, or call 417-256-1819.
There's one man on this earth who really, truly gets it.
When Obama said he seeks to fundamentally transform America, he means fundamentally alter the nature of our republic, which in turn means to fundamentally reshape society and the citizens' relationship, our relationship to the federal government. The sovereign, we the people, become the subjects. Some people follow this willingly. Some people endorse it. I say hell no.
Weeknights from 5 till 8, Mark Levin on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
Coast to Coast AM brings the Ozarks a whole new feel for radio. Midnight to 6 a.m. every night here on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1 The Point. Where else would you get callers talking about everything from UFOs to war trends, from mental energy to anomalies, and from lost knowledge to aliens? Listen to experts and researchers who are part of the guest list every night here on the Ozarks Best News Talk. Don't miss Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, midnight to 6 a.m. every night here on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1 The Point.
You know, in a story out last Friday, the Associated Press reports that after getting the data, which the Social Security Administration admits it received, that the project was dropped and the list was destroyed. If you buy that, I've got some oceanfront property right on the border of Missouri that is a perfect deal for you. Here's the story. The Social Security Administration says one of its fraud investigators received a readable list of Missourians who have concealed weapons permits, but that the list was later destroyed. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch reported Friday the agent received the list in a readable form from the Missouri State Highway Patrol in January. Patrol officials told the Missouri Senate Committee Thursday that the data was never accessed at the federal level because of a technical glitch. That's their lie. But the Social Security Administration Office of Inspector General told the Post-Dispatch the unreadable version was sent to the agent back in 2011. The investigation was designed and planned to check if anyone who met Missouri's mental health qualifications for a weapons permit had also sought the benefits of a mental disability. Ladies and gentlemen, that is an act which our governor is responsible for. And our governor came out in a public statement and said that the information was never given to the federal government. And yet we know it was. Not only from the federal government admitting itself that it had received the information on two separate occasions, one readable, one not, but in addition to that, the Commandant of the Missouri Highway Patrol admitted in a Senate hearing after 2 hours of grilling and repeated denials, that yes, he did in fact turn over the information to government agents on 2 separate occasions. That, my friends, is an impeachable offense for our governor. And so when you go down to your local sheriff's office and you file an identity theft charge, you must include Governor Jay Nixon. The governor should be removed from office by the forcible means of impeachment, if necessary. What he has done has betrayed the citizens of the state of Missouri, to wit, 163,000 of them, and on 2 occasions, and then lied to the citizens and our assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, if that's the representative who you want to lead our state, God help you. First of all, I don't care what the Social Security Administration says. They have no right to that data. They have no right to it, one, because it belongs to the state of Missouri, and, more importantly, it belongs to the individual citizens themselves. Third, there is a state law prohibiting the release of that information and its dissemination to anyone else, based upon privacy rights. Fourth, they had no probable cause to begin an investigation to determine how many folks in Missouri held a CCW permit, but had also applied for mental health qualifications for a disability permit. That is an investigation without a cause. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a violation of our state and federal constitutions. You must have probable cause in order to initiate an investigation. We don't go around charging people with a crime that has never occurred. Nor do we go about taking our political enemies and punishing them and persecuting them based on their lawful conduct. And mark my words, the people who applied for a Missouri permit are lawful citizens. The federal government is responsible for initiating an investigation into 163,000 Missouri residents that is an out-and-out violation of the Constitution. The governor is complicit. The Commandant, Colonel Replogle from the Missouri Highway Patrol, is guilty and complicit. The Missouri Department of Revenue is complicit. The Department of Homeland Security is complicit. This is conspiracy. A conspiracy within the state of Missouri to deprive the citizens of the state of Missouri, number one, all of the concealed carry holders, and number two, every Missouri resident who holds a driver's license, through the violation of law, to provide that information that they are required by law and by common law to protect. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't give you a better definition of the police state than someone who takes your personal information and disseminates it to individuals or groups or agencies who have your demise as their goal. The definition of the word betrayal comes to mind. In fact, the definition of the word treason, high crimes, and misdemeanors is appropriate here. I'm demanding that Governor Jay Nixon resign. I'm demanding that Replogle not only resign but be charged criminally. I'm demanding that our House in the State Assembly begin immediate impeachment process against the governor. I'm demanding that Brian Long be charged criminally. I'm demanding that Morpho Trust be sued civilly and charged criminally with identity theft. I'm demanding that the Social Security Administration of the United States of America be charged criminally and civilly. I'm calling for an attorney who's got the brass and the courage of his convictions to stand up and file a civil suit on behalf of 163,000 class action citizens of the state of Missouri. You attorneys out there, who's got the courage and the brass to do it? Send me an email, mike@americasvoicenow.org, and put right in the subject line, I'm an attorney and I will stand. I'll get you your required 25, then you can make it a class action suit. I'll get you your required 25 within 10 minutes of the arrival of that email. So, attorneys, do you believe in law? Or do you believe in some modified variant of that? Do you have integrity? Or are you just a pawn in the game? There's your challenge. There's a challenge for the state troopers to arrest their own commandant and demand, hand him over to the state authorities for prosecution criminally. House, begin impeachment proceedings today. All right. Before we wrap, on April 20th, this Saturday, Ozarks Freedom Festival to be held at Koshkonong City Park. I'll be there. I'll be the primary speaker there. I'd love to have you down there. Bob Parker will be there. Jerry King from the Voice of the Ozarks. Jerry Diamond and others who will be announced. State representatives and state senators have been invited. Will they have the courage to show? God only knows. The candidates who are running for the 8th Congressional District seat in Congress have been invited. Peter Kinder, a lieutenant governor, has also been invited. Oath Keepers board member and Montana President Elias Alias will attend, and he will conduct a reaffirmation of the oath ceremony. If you are a military veteran, current and former peace officer, firefighter, EMT, or a first responder, please attend, participate, and reaffirm your oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. There'll be live music. There'll be a fish fry. It runs from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. at the Koshkonong City Park. If you have questions, the event, by the way, is free. So please make it your business to get your family together. And on this Saturday, the 20th of April, make sure that you appear down there at Koshkonong. If you have questions, you may call 417-264-2435 or 417-270-1724. Those numbers again, 417-264-2435. or 417-270-1724. Quick update, the rally to support the Constitution and the Second Amendment is my understanding is it's been canceled. That was at the Eagle Heights Independent Baptist Church on Saturday, April 20th. It's my understanding that event has been canceled. And Sergeant Page, Command Sergeant Major Page, Danny Page, will not be at that event, and I believe it's been canceled. So please make it your business to attend the Koshkonong Festival in place of that. Okay, I'd like to hear from you. I'd love to hear your opinions, your ideas. Please contact me at mike@americasvoicenow.org. That's mike@americasvoicenow.org. You can find us on the web at americasvoicenow.org, on Facebook at facebook.com/America's Voice Now, and on YouTube at youtube.com/America's Voice Now. Please make sure that you share our information with your friends and your family and those people who you have influence with. We'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early.